The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
CJ's back in the bunker.
Yeah,
CJ, can only take.
boy.
It's tough out here in front of the cameras, huh? The lights are hot, so you're back in a nice air-conditioned bunker.
This bunker isn't always that air-conditioned, believe me.
No, I'm only joshing. So here it is, another day, and more political machinations that you can't even make up if if you tried. They think we were writing fiction. And it's campaign season, so everybody's trying to keep a lid on everything because, it's true. I mean, let's face it. No politician talks about anything of substance during a campaign season. They're going to try to keep everything about mom and apple pie. They're going to talk about everything but any real issues because they're not going to take a position that could cost them a vote. They're not going to try to discuss anything because something might come out. Yet, it always finds a way to do it. And we had an issue that popped up about a parcel of land.
Yes, we did.
And that's quite a very, very interesting issue. Again, it shows how deeply, favoritism and patronage and even corruption can be an integral part of government. So, CJ, you've been boning up on this thing. You wanna give us the overview here?
Well, I'm never afraid to attack the issue. There was a parcel of land on North 7th Street, which was supposed to be sold at tax auction. And oddly enough, the mayor removed that parcel of land from the tax auction. His rationale behind it was, well, we can't sell that because it was promised to someone. Really? It was promised to someone? It was promised to the Bank Street Neighborhood Association for a garden. Well, number one, it owes money, which we're going to lose. And we're going to put a garden in there. That's a wonderful thing, another community garden. But my problem is this. Where's that food going to go? If they're going to use it for food, they might use it for flowers. I know where they're going to get the fertilizer from.
All the mayor has to do is walk through the garden.
Okay? But again, and we've spoken about this clearly before, this is where the political action committees, known as neighborhood associations, comes in. And there's only one neighborhood association which stands out as not being a political action committee. Although sometimes I think he does act like a political action committee unilaterally as one man, and that's the Flint Neighborhood Association. And they're getting shafted right and left. They get nothing. They weren't promised a parcel of land for a garden.
Well, what troubles me about this whole thing is, number one, the city in the financial straits that Fall River is, and we have an issue here about a parcel of land being put up for auction. So number one, you have removed the right of anybody who wanted to bid at auction on that parcel of land. You're not going to maximize the amount of money that you get back on that property. And secondly, who knows who to bid on that land? They may actually have put something that pays taxes on that land. We don't know. And the problem is that's not the process. The process said it was supposed to go up for public auction. Who are these people to make promises? Well, we know that Will Flanagan, it was his MO to give the neighborhood associations anything they wanted in return for their votes. So apparently Sam Sutter in an election cycle has taken on the same strategy. It was promised. Really? You're a lawyer. And as you said, I guess nothing is legal unless you take it to court. But you're denying other people, an opportunity to bid. It's like if the government confiscated a $100,000 Mercedes in a drug bust, and they were going to auction it off, and everybody shows up at the auction to get a $100,000 Mercedes as cheaply as they can, and then the mayor says, "Oh, wait a minute, it's promised. I promised it to my nephew who said he'd vote for me." It's just, I don't even know if that's legal. Making promises to neighborhood associations, that's obviously making an overt attempt to influence voting blocks. These neighborhood associations have become political action committees. If you think back to the discussions on the trash fee, one of the few people who spoke against the fee was someone from the Bank Street Neighborhood Association. And that same person is on city boards, collecting some money, not a lot, but collecting some money. Appointed boards, by the way, not elected boards. If you get elected to something, well, you've only got the people who elected you to blame, but the fact is when you get appointed, it's obviously the mayor. So, maintained her appointment and also maintained her influence, apparently, because they're going to keep her promise to get a garden. Well, you know the old saying, Mary, Mary, quite contrary. How does your garden grow? Silver bells and cockle shells and one bleep tomato. So the thing is that that's not the way it's supposed to be done. I am very, very troubled by this because it's obvious. Look, we all know about the backroom deals. We all know about the favoritism in awarding contracts, like we see with the fence contracts with Flanagan's old co-pilot. We know about these things, and it's troubling to begin with as taxpayers. But now, when it comes out in the open and they actually say, "Oh, well, I just promised," which it was promised. The question is, who the hell gave you the right to promise that? People keep saying that we have a democracy. If that doesn't show that this is a monarchy, the hell with the people, the hell with the serfs. What do we care about the taxpayers? The city's in trouble. And we can segue into it on a different level. Look at our state. Big debate about the sales tax holiday. Two of our local elected officials, Senator Roderick and Representative Sylvia, we're point men on voting no. No, the state needs the money. It's going to mean $38 million or something like that. Well, guess what? As in the city of Fall River, I asked the question, how much money did you try to not waste this year? So who takes it on the chin again? The beleaguered people in the state who could actually have a weekend when they went out and saved a few dollars. A few of their, by the way, hard-earned dollars. But no, you're gonna give them the propaganda that this is a great political stand. It took political courage to take this stand. No, it didn't. It took political greed and avarice, because you guys, like the city of Fall River, can't get enough money to spend. You got a pay raise, didn't you? Uh-oh. Nobody's supposed to know that. That's right. You guys voted yourself a pay raise this year. Instead of foregoing the sales tax holiday for the working people of the state of Massachusetts, why don't you forego a pay raise once in a while? Or the money that you get for driving to Boston. How many people who work in Boston have to spend money on trains, buses, their own cars, maintenance to get to Boston? But you guys get money. You get compensated. And you don't pay taxes on it. You don't pay taxes, period, in the state. So it's like, really, with all the money we wasted, Howie Carr's article, again, go look at Howie Carr's article. about the Olympics. This is what you don't see in the mainstream media, because they squash. They never, you see an investigative report about some city worker, sitting behind a garage or something and drinking beer while he's working. I'm not saying that's right, but you never see an investigative report on the money men who were going to make billions, not millions. I said billions with a B, if we got the Olympics. And that's the reason they pushed so hard for the Olympics. And the only reason that they withdrew was because they knew there was a very, very strong taxpayer movement to ensure that no taxpayer money was going to be used to defray the overruns and costs of the Olympics. And they knew they couldn't beat it back. They were already planning on trying, but when they figured out the people in the state were upset enough to do it, all of a sudden, well, we're not gonna have the Olympics. And you know something? This is the problem. You know, I talked about it, I touched on it the last show when I talked about how the media covers sporting events and makes it news. Well, it is news, sports news, but it's not news. What's news that you interrupt for a half an hour is 9/11, a major accident or a major fire, a major incident somewhere. That's news, you know. But they've convinced the people. Goebbels was right, CJ. You tell a lie enough, or you don't tell the truth enough, or you fabricate something enough, they're going to believe it. And that's what they've been doing, and for decades. And look at the transition. We began 20 years ago where any taxpayer would vote against any city councilor or any mayor or any state rep that increased their taxes. It was automatic. You were out of office. And they've managed to pollute people's minds so much over the last 20 years that now they're actually telling the lie every time they can. Hey, you want services, you've got to pay taxes. And I don't care how much money I waste. If you want to keep your services, you have to keep paying more for them every year while I steal money from those services and put it in my friend's pocket. And that is just something that hopefully we're turning the corner. We began to turn the corner, and hopefully in this next election we'll turn the corner again.
You know, the Kool-Aid isn't getting stronger either. They're weakening it. They're watering it down now because it's so easy to get these voters to believe the line of BS. But, you know, we received a tip, now that we're talking about money and stuff, we received a tip which we know is happening. And I've done some minor investigation into this. There have been complaints that various city employees are using the gas pump located at the city garage. Now, at one time, you used to have a card or an identification that would activate the pump, and the gas would be charged to the appropriate department. But everyone kept losing the cards. So they all use one card now to just, you know, swipe, and the gas gets charged to the same line item, I guess, everywhere across the board, and nobody else is having to pay for it. But interestingly enough, an employee went forward to say something to the supervisors or the powers that be in city government, and was told, if you don't like it, quit. Are you serious? Honestly, is this how we're gonna run city government? Okay, it's bad enough our tax dollars are being spent frivolously. Now we have an allegation of employees within the city government that are using our city gasoline for their private vehicles. Now, I've already been given several statements that, well, they're using their cars for city business. Well, how do you designate that? How do we separate that? Okay? What most businesses do is they submit a mileage report and they get paid 55 cents a mile.
Most of those people are getting car allowances, and they're not supposed to be using city gas. That's what their car allowance is for.
Exactly. But
so that's and just to say, I'm not sure if it's changed though. Just for the sake of clarity, because I I gassed at those pumps for many years with various fire department equipment. They did transition before I left, and it hasn't been that long, but the fact is they used to have a keypad, and everybody had their own code, and you'd punch in your identification code, and that would monitor who was taking the gas out. Each fire apparatus, each the fire department and each vehicle, they had their own keypad, and they punched the pad, and that would monitor who was using the gas. Obviously there should be some monitoring because, gas isn't 25 cents a gallon. And, the fact is that, there have also been allegations of people using city equipment to do personal jobs and city equipment to do things without charging. And there have been a lot of allegations, and it's troubling because, the Fall River is moving forward, is their mantra, and you've got to pay more taxes. But the problem is, the first thing we have to do is ensure that we clean up our own city. And when you allow people in the government to do things that are illegal, it doesn't say much for the oversight, and it explains, and to a very high degree, why we see so many screw-ups, and nobody cares because there seems to be no consequences for not doing your job, and in some cases, doing things illegal on your job. If you're the right people, there are no consequences. It seems the only people who suffer consequences are the people at the lowest end of the totem pole and the taxpayers. And this is why that we have to take a close look. And getting back to this parcel of land, I don't know why there's not an investigation. But then again, if we had an investigation, it would go as well as the 22 window investigation, because amazingly enough, they can track down murderers, but we can't find, somebody who authorized the 22 windows. And it seems that any investigation on a political figure done by any agency except the FBI never gets a finding.
I agree. Well, and while we're here, I received last night, shortly after the closing of Government Center, the official list of candidates who have turned in their papers to the Board of Elections. Now, the last date for the candidates to be placed on the ballot and the Board of Elections to put the ballot out to print is going to be August 20th, I believe. So we'll get the final list of candidates, because they have the opportunity to remove their name from running before that date, that are going to go on the ballot by that date. Charter commissioners are not on this list because their due date isn't until September 15th. So we'll keep an eye on that. But let's look at the big office of Mayor of Fall River. The candidates are Robert Alexander, Jazel Correa, Richard Renzi, Jordan James Sylvia, and C. Samuel Sutter. So it looks like the People's Debate is going to potentially have 5 candidates on stage to discuss what they're going to do differently in Fall River.
That's a workable number.
Yeah, that's workable. And for a potentially 2-hour debate, that should be a very good line item. City Council, largest turnout in recent years. And we're probably talking about 20 years. Robert Braga, he's actually a next-door neighbor. Well, not too much of a next-door neighbor. He's not too far away. Richard Branco, Richard Cabaceres, Ron Cabral, Sean Kadim, Joseph Joe D. Camara. I love this. I got to put their nicknames in now. Stephen Camara, Jason Caminiti, Patricia Pat A. Casey. Your favorite person, Chip. Your pet rock. Russell J. Despines, Scott Donnelly, Mario Duarte, Joshua Font, M. Earl Gaudet, Pam S. La Liberté LeBeau, Trot Joseph Lee, Stephen Long, David P. Meade Jr., David P. Meade Sr. I guess because the son ran a couple of times, Daddy's got to join the boat. Louis Alves Mellon, Raymond A. Mitchell. Oh, there's a Sutter sellout. Leo Pelletier. Linda Pereira. Bing, 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 bing. Another Sutter sellout. Cliff Pont. Joachim Jack Raposo. Dan Rigo. Joshua E. Silva. Jeffrey Sylvia. Jordan James Sylvia. Hey, that's two items on the line. And Ricky Teeth. He's a member of the Cambodian community. And then finally, for school committee, we have Gabe Andrade, Sean P. Connell, Paul Coogan, Mont Costa, Edward Kostar, Paul B. Hart, Joseph Martins, Robert Maynard, and Melissa Karen Panchley. I thought she got rid of the Karen name.
It's only used during elections.
It's only used during elections, of course. So there are your people. There are your candidates. It's going to make for an interesting year, Chip, and I'm already seeing some of the rumors, the dirt slinging, the mud slinging, the lies, picking on people's backgrounds, and you know this is Fall River. This is a Fall River sport. I mean, this should be an Olympic sport.
Yeah, welcome to Fall River politics, right? And, you know, it's funny because I'm looking at the list and it's like you see some of these perennial names, but we see a lot of new, you know, a lot of new faces, and we see a lot of new names, and you know that's good because you know if we. You know, we should give everybody a listen, even if these candidates, you don't consider them really, really viable, you don't think that they have enough name recognition, or you don't think they're going to get in. It doesn't mean that they don't have some good ideas. And you should really, really research. I mean, you know, knowledge is always power. The more you know, the better off you are. And some of these people who were running, I mean, if you look at their platforms, you may see something, and we all may see something that's a very good idea. And, you know, obviously there may be some whose campaign is just elect me, I can do a better job. Well, that's not really a campaign platform, but I mean, if, you know, you can just kind of cross them off the list. But I mean, some people may have some ideas, and the ideas may be the beginning of something that's really, you know, a viable option for the city of Fall River, because we definitely need it. And I see Samuel Sutter. I really didn't know where he lived. He lived on Dexter Street. I think it's appropriate. It's one of my favorite series on Showtime, Dexter. It was about a serial killer. You know, I think he's doing a pretty good job of killing Fall River. So maybe that's kind of an omen. I don't know, but
well, and you know, Chip, the thing is that over the weekend, you know, I reviewed a lot of the policies of our local media outlets here in the Greater Fall River, Boston, and Providence area. And those media outlets have some interesting restrictions, like 400 words for your candidacy announcement. And some of these candidates announcements are, you know, as long as 800 words. Oh my God, that's a lot of space in the paper or somewhere else. But I put out to the community, and I will say it again here on Spindle City Straight Talk, South Coast Media has allowed and will allow every political candidate for office, every single person on this list, the opportunity to post to our South Coast Media Facebook page, and very shortly our South Coast Media website, which is southcoastmedia.org and southcoastmedia.tv, their political candidacy announcements, unedited, unabridged, whatever format you want. We will make sure it gets posted to you. An email address will be set up shortly, which will be political announcements or something along that line. I will say it on the show, and I will post it to the South Coast Media Facebook page. But it will get out there, and I will, you know, we will also allow political statements on issues as they come up to be posted on both the website and the South Coast Media Facebook page. That's how you're going to get your message out there. That way, if the local media won't do it for you, South Coast Media will. We are not going to edit it. The only thing we will extract from your statements is extreme vulgarity or personal attacks on any individual. You want to call them out on their votes, their personal plans, anything like that's fine. Their plans for their campaign is okay, but personal attacks will not be allowed.
And I would suggest that when obviously we may even have a series of questions that we ask to allow them to respond to, which would educate the public better. But also, when they make these candidate statements, that are not going to be restricted to 400 words, they should, if you have a website, you should mention that in that so people can go, because you can't put it all in one. And
Exactly.
Some of these people have some very, very well done websites, and they there's a lot of information about their positions on numerous things that they're not going to have time to put on in any type of short statement. So it would be a good idea for all of you who really want to get your message out to put it on, because I think this may be the only place that you can go that you will get an unadulterated version of what is going on here, because we're not going to. We're not going to restrict them and say you've got 4 lines or 400 words, or, if you answer the question, as I said. But, that's the other thing, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because, personal attacks are out of bounds. Attacks on their position, on political issues, their votes, or their anything that has to do with their ability to do the job or govern, or that has a political interest, is fine. You can, but it can't be personal. We're not going to allow people to talk about people's lives, their families, and anything like that. It's not germane to the subject. Some people may think that, but as I said, the fact is that this is about bringing political information to the people of Fall River. So we're going to keep it so it's informative, not about any kind of personal matters. And we have one of the neighborhood association people that just walked into our control room, the infamous, one of the few. And have you been promised a rose garden, Caesar? I just thought I'd ask that, but. It's the best way to learn it, and knowledge is power. And we're trying to encourage people to vote on issues, to vote on substance. Don't vote on, they make a good chow mein sandwich or a ham and bean supper. Don't vote on the fact that, she was, she groomed my dog really nicely and stuff. Vote on the fact that there he is. Look, hey, Carlos. Hey, what's up, man? You're not getting a rose garden. You're not getting any plot of land. If it's a plot, it might be in Notre Dame if they're going to do it.
I'm a tourist in Fall River today.
Oh, Tori, you're the first
so
one.
So don't complain about Newport to have all the tourists. I came down to see you.
Okay, great. Now make sure you tour you tour some of our wonderful parks that we spent so much taxpayer money on. But realistically, to get back, it's let's put people in the seats who will work in our interest. We always talk about a government of the people, but the second part's more important. By the people, for the people. It's got to be by the people in order to be for the people. You got to realize that, because it's pretty obvious that these clowns that we got in office now, they only take care of each other. And the last people they take care of is the taxpayer. And, and they do it without even giving you a jar of Vaseline. So that's the thing. And that's what troubles me. And the reality is, look, in order for us to have a better government, we've got to put people in those seats who are like us.
That's true. And Chip, it's always going to be interesting to see what happens over the election cycle of this year. So, hey, that's Spindle City Straight Talk for Wednesday. Have a great day, and I hope you candidates take advantage of South Coast Media's opportunity. And remember, BCC is going to be asking you to tape your messages to the community very soon. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching.
See you Friday, and stay angry.